Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm finally going to be finishing up the steering in the Hellcat Magnum, and there were a few things that I had to design and also make to make everything work, because I'm using the Trackhawk all-wheel drive system, which means I'm also using the Trackhawk steering rack, which puts it in a totally different location than it would be in a Charger or Challenger. So the first thing I had to do was I had to send SendCutSend a file to cut this plate out, and this holds the steering bushing from a Jeep, which is really nice because the steering bushing is a roller bearing and it's gonna hold the steering shaft nice and true and there won't be any slop. But SendCutSend is really convenient because they also were able to add hardware, so I don't have to hold a nut on the back of this plate. And if I didn't have to weld this piece into this piece right here, I could have had them already powder coated. So it's a really convenient service. They offer bending services, they offer powder coating, hardware. Link is in the description. I also have a discount code. I use them all the time and it just really makes sense. It's just really convenient. And then I had to find something to fit in here that was a 27.5 millimeter outside diameter. I have no access to the machine shop anymore because they are remodeling the building that it is in, and nobody's allowed in the building except construction workers. So I ended up looking around. I found a non-chrome socket and it fits perfectly after some sanding. So now we have our bushing, which will be nice and true. I don't have to worry about any slop. And I am going to weld that into this piece of the steering shaft that's on the factory steering column.
I need to remove the airbag off of the steering wheel assembly so I can start modifying it. And this is off of, it's kind of weird, it's off of a V6 all-wheel drive, but it came with paddle shifters. And they're not the larger ones like the Hellcats, but they're like the Scat Pack paddle shifters. So what I'm going to do is there's this hole right here. There we go. The trick is you're going towards the back, but you can't go too far back. So you're trying to go kind of this way, pointed towards this metal piece inside here, and you're kind of ride that, but you can't go too far back because you'll get on the clip or behind the clip, and it just, you know, it's just a feel thing. There we go, finally. What a pain. Ended up having to cut the wires on the airbag, which I always replace the clock spring anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But sometimes they get melted on after the airbag deploys. You can see how bulged out that back disc is. So this is no good. And what I need to do now is I need to pull out this center bolt right here, and that'll pull the whole steering wheel off. This weight in the bottom of the steering wheel, I'm wondering if this is what makes it self-return. I wonder what would happen if you took it out. It probably weighs a pound. Let's go see how much this weighs. Whew. Yep, it weighs exactly a pound. And this just slides right off. It also locks in place when it's off. It locks. There we go. Now she's locked in, ready to go back on. Yeah, man, this is actually good too. I can't use this anyway, but this is how much slop this steering shaft has in it. You really don't notice it, but it's always there. So we're gonna fix this problem right here. I need to remove this. This is the reason it has so much slop. It's just this big bushing. It's just crazy it's like that. I just don't understand. Now that I have everything off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right here And then this is gonna go into the new Jeep steering roller bearing assembly thing. Like butter. Look at that. Fits like butter. Got everything lined up, tacked in. Now we could try to fit this, and I think we should be good. Steering column is now test fit in that front clip and everything looks good. I might actually adjust this plate and spin it just a hair, just because when I adjust the steering wheel down like so, it works, but it kind of puts some tension on it. It still spins freely, but I'm thinking this also might be an issue because the floor right here on this car is buckled and that's really not seeing flat. So I want to test fit it in the Charger really quick just to make sure. And then I'm always going to have this all the way up. So I now have the steering column mounted into the Hellcat Magnum, and I'm glad that I did it because this firewall is pushed back 3 inches. So I thought I had everything perfectly cut and ready to go, and then I had to use another steering column because I cut the shaft too short because this was pushed back 3 inches, which is crazy to think the firewall, or just like the lower part I guess, is pushed back because the dash still bolts in there perfectly fine. And this is a crash support out of a non-wrecked car. So I'm really happy that that's done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to figure out how I'm going to mate that other side to this CV joint right here. And it's really nice because I took the air box and everything out before the brake lines, and the brake lines aren't in here. I now have a spline shaft tacked onto the end where that bushing rides. I'm going to throw it into the charger, make sure this shaft is not too long. Steering column is now in there. Everything seems like it's in there pretty nice. The only thing I have a concern about is, stick this up in here. It just looked really close. Oh man, that is like perfect. Oh, I think that's perfect. As long as when the U-joint goes in there, it isn't touching. Where's the thing at? Oh, I think that's gonna be perfect. I mean, I guess that would be fine. Yeah, I guess it clears right there. I'm gonna have to rethink the steering shaft. I thought I had a good idea of how I was gonna do it. I ordered this CV steering joint, and this thing's awesome. It gives you almost 90 degrees of angle, but the only issue with it is it's so bulky, it puts the output this high up, and then it's trying to go towards the firewall at too great of an angle. So it was gonna bind. Also, it was so high up that this probably would have melted because it's pretty close to the exhaust manifold, and then it would have flung a bunch of grease everywhere. If this could have been directly on the steering rack, it would have been perfect. What I ended up trying was I went down in the yard and grabbed a steering shaft off a Jeep. That steering shaft actually works, but it fits way too loose on the steering rack. So what I'm gonna end up doing is buying U-joints and a piece of metal to make the shaft part of it. And it'll be a lot thinner, less bulky. I won't have to worry about the exhaust manifold. And then I'll have a U-joint here, and then I'll have one back there by that shaft back there. And then I'll use the stock one on the steering column, and then I'll add another one towards that bearing plate that I made. And I think everything will work out really nice, be really clean, be a lot thinner, not be so bulky. And then I'll have plenty more room for the exhaust manifolds or the headers, and it'll just be a lot safer. So I don't want to cut corners. I could go down in the junkyard, grab a bunch of U-joints and probably fabricate some stuff together, but then it'd be bulky. I'd have to worry about it. It could fail. Rather just take the time, order the new U-joints, and get everything 100%. Plus, I don't have the brake lines yet. They should be here this week, but the U-joints should come this week as well. And then I could get everything finalized with the steering. I'll probably have to clock that bearing plate I made just a hair. But besides that, we should be good to go. The steering column is now finally in the car, and a bunch of other stuff. The brake line should be here. But I'm gonna end the video here. If you like these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button, thumbs up, throw a comment below. As always, see you guys next time.